All right, Panther fans, we have the creme de la creme here today with you. You're not going to believe this one. Stu doesn't believe it. Stu is like a kid on Christmas right now. You just is he was almost going to shave for this. This is how excited Stu is. So I'm going to let Stu introduce his friend. And Stu, go ahead, take it away. He's been practicing this, guys. This is like an Oscar speech. So here we go.
Yeah, I got my script here. So let me ask you, Panther fans, when you think about who is Mr. Panther, yeah, some of you might say Beezer, some of you might say Luongo. I say this guy here, the original number 11, Mr. William Hamilton Lindsay.
Ah, there
Welcome
you go.
aboard, Billy.
That is the full name, William Hamilton Lindsay. Yeah, thank you
Right.
very much for having me on today. Special introduction, and very happy to be on with you guys today. And glad you're doing this for the team and reaching out. And always fun to talk about the Panthers, the direction they're going. And Eric, Stu, the stuff you're putting together, the content, I've seen some of it, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
Oh,
We're
thanks.
real appreciative. I mean, I go back again 27 years with Billy. Used to, go to the Lighthouse Point practice arena, see Roger Nielsen come in on his bicycle. I originally liked Billy because he wore number 11, and that was my number in high school and college.
All right.
And then obviously, he became a fan favorite and obviously my favorite player. But a lot of fans that really don't know the 96 team and the 96 playoff run, Billy had some amazing goals and amazing assists, some real important goals. And he has the greatest goal in Panther history.
Amen.
He went around Ray Bork like a hoop around a barrel and scored an amazing goal. Go look it up on YouTube. You'll watch it 50 times.
Yep, absolutely.
So Billy,
I'm starting to blush, guys.
What's that?
I'm starting to blush.
All right. So really, I want you to. You've been through the good times, through mostly the bad times, but from what you're seeing, what Zito's done in the last couple of weeks. I mean, you're on the NHL Network. You're the one guy, other than maybe Kevin Weeks. You're the one guy that introduces or promotes the Panthers to the rest of the country in Canada. So you got to have a good feeling now that we have, in my opinion, and Eric's opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, the team on paper to win the Cup next season.
We're definitely headed in that direction, and it's turned around quickly. What's really impressed me about the transformation is the hiring of Bill Zito. And you talked to the fans and said this is going to be the year, and the fans have heard that a lot of times, and it's turned around and ended in disappointment. And you go get Bill Zito, the new general manager, and the fans probably with some skepticism. Same thing, new GM, what's going to happen this time around? How are things going to be different? And he goes out in the offseason, gets Verhaeghe, gets Wenberg, gets Declare, gets Gudis, gets all this new talent into
Forsling.
Forsling, can't forget about him. But the number of guys, and you thought, how is this going to turn out? And what really impressed me was a lot of times during the course, when you have all those new players, it takes some time to come out of the gates and find the line combinations, the chemistry, what kind of teams it's going to be. And this is where Quenneville deserves a lot of credit too, with a truncated training camp, no exhibition games, COVID. And then all of a sudden this team comes out and they didn't have to make any really line adjustments. The first line was intact second, and they got off that hot start. And that was what's been missing for so many years. And it was like instead of putting square pegs into round holes, Bill Zito found round pegs to fit into round holes. And they hit the ground running, got off that hot start, and went into finish it off to one of the best Panther seasons ever recorded. And that first round playoff series against Tampa Bay was toe-to-toe, one of the best series of the playoffs. That first game of the playoffs was one of the best games that I've ever watched personally in hockey in my entire life. So the Panthers are on the verge. They're headed in the right direction. Bill Zito continues to add to the roster, and everything that he seemed to add has seemed to pay dividends and benefit the Panthers. So they're headed in the right direction. And now Stu and Eric, they're set up for sustained success. It happened last year, but it's not a one-time thing. They're sustained to build off this and be a team that gets into the playoffs year in and year out for the foreseeable future. And that's why you have to consider them a Stanley Cup contender going forward. But Bill Zito and Joe Quenneville did amazing things last year and really turned this franchise around.
Yep, absolutely.
Especially when Ekblad went down.
Yes, got to give Mackenzie Weegar credit for the way that he stepped up, in Forsling jumping up and playing huge minutes. But those guys on defense with Ekblad did a remarkable job.
Right. So I want to touch a little bit on the 96 team. Obviously, I would be remiss if we didn't speak about that a little bit. So it's a two-part question here with that team. The first question is, if you can share the story, if you were in the room when Mellanby slapped the Rat, and at what point in the season did anybody look around and say, you know what, I think we might have something special here?
Well, I wasn't in the room when Mellanby hit the Rat. We have a really small dressing room in Miami Arena. We only played the games there. We never practiced there. And there was a little hallway that we had to go out onto the ice once we left our dressing room. So I was in the hallway once that Rat, but I did see the Rat come flying down the hallway and it went into the dressing room. And from what I've been told, it did a couple of laps. And it was huge. That Rat was well fed in Miami Arena. It was bigger. It was bigger than the average size Rat, but it
beans
did a
and
couple
rice.
of laps. Yeah, beans and rice. There you go. It did a couple of laps around the dressing room, and Scott Mellanby, everyone was jumping up on their dressing room stalls, and Mellanby had the wherewithal to think, well, I'm going to go one time this thing with my hockey stick. And once it did another lap, he caught it with a full flush one-timer, went flying across the room and impaled against the wall, and actually put a little dent in the wall. So that's where, unfortunately, the Rats had to call it an end.
Yeah.
to that. But Scott didn't have time to put any fresh tape on his stick, so he went on the ice with some rat hair and a little bit of blood still on his hockey stick, and was able to score a couple of goals that game. And Van Beesbroek coined the phrase after he scored the couple of goals, and the Rat incident, coined it the Rat trick, and that's where that legend and myth was born. But Scott Mellanby did it, and we had actually got a replica Rat and put it there, and put the date that he passed away, and had a little memorial site for him in the dressing room, and that was there throughout the course of the season. So that's the story of the Rat in a nutshell. And during the course of that year, did we realize we had something special? It was growing from the first couple of years, the bond that we had. We came very close in the first year by 1 point, missed out on the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I believe the same thing in the second year. So we had a hardworking group, and we were able to make that playoffs in the third year. And once you get in the playoffs, as you saw this year with the Montreal Canadiens and different stuff, anything's possible. We saw the Nashville Predators one year as a 16th seed make it to the final. The LA Kings won the cup as an 8th seed in the Western Conference. So once we got in, we knew that we had a group capable, because of our work ethic and tenacity, to be a factor in the playoffs. And once we got in, we didn't have a superstar in any area but goal, and that was Van Beesbroek. And he was able to really solidify and win a lot of games for us. But once we got by Boston and started to win some games, that's when the belief started to creep in that we're on to something here and we got a chance. We felt once we got into the Philadelphia series that we're capable of beating this team. And then going up against Pittsburgh, in my mind, there was some trepidation. Everyone in our room, you saw Yager, you saw Lemieux, all the talent on the other side. And I would be lying if I didn't look at that lineup and say, how the heck are we going to do this and get by this hockey team? But it was just the character in that room was something that we knew was special, and how hard everyone worked. And the key with that team was that I really learned as a professional athlete to be successful. You have to play for the guy beside you, for their family. It's not so much about yourself. Mellanby and Skrudland described it perfectly, that they could be disappointed in their game, but they're more disappointed about letting their teammate down because they know that they have a family to feed and they have a job to do. And it really put it in perspective for myself that I got to show up to work every day for myself and do my personal best, not just for my own success, but because people are depending on me. And it's much like being a father or a mother to a kid. Your kid depends on you to do stuff, and that's the feeling was in our dressing room was similar like to that, is that we're responsible for each other's success. And once that came translated it across, you were willing to do almost everything possible because you saw how hard the person next to you was working, and if you didn't work that hard, you knew you were going to let them down. And that fear of letting them down in my mind was such a factor that that disappointment would hurt me more than letting myself down or playing bad. And that's where that team really connected and really came together. And that was the bond between that team and able to push us to that Stanley Cup final until we finally met a Colorado team that was really, really good.
Really good.
We pushed and lost that last game in triple overtime. And it was a hard fought, but it was a special, just if you looked at that group of guys, all through that lineup was all about character, hustle, determination, everything that you would want in a pro athlete. And for myself as a young kid, I couldn't ask for anything more than to learn from those guys. It was a priceless experience to be able to sit by those guys and learn what it was like to be a pro. And that's really what stood out for me for the rest of my career. Being on that team was just that it was just dedication, every practice, every game, and that's how you're going to be successful. So we realized that we had a special group in that locker room. I don't know if we realized that we could take it as far as we did until we got into the playoffs. Once we got into the playoffs, that's when we really started to believe that we were onto something special here.
Outstanding.
It was insane. I mean, and the craziness of the rats, and that I mean, there was excitement. I remember driving down from Boca, and on every lamppost on 95, on either side of the lamppost, had that Panther thing all the way going down to Miami.
Yeah.
But, I think,
remember that.
I think in the finals, I just think, you guys had played such a tough 3 series that by the time, Colorado came along, I'm not saying you guys were, burnt, but obviously those other series took a toll. And I gotta say, you said that first Tampa game was the best. That triple overtime against Colorado, in my mind, and I actually was sitting by the press box, and it was like nail biting time, back and forth, and so.
Yeah, by the time the goal was scored, I'd been sitting on my couch for so long. It took me almost a minute after the goal was scored, and I'm watching. I still remember, and I'm watching. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. It's over. That's it. It's done." It had such a weird effect because it just didn't feel like it was over. It just took a minute to realize that, oh, that's right. There's no more hockey now. It was.
You know what?
I mean, it sucked that it was a 4 game sweep. You guys were in every single game.
Yeah.
So,
and Eric, to your point, what you're saying, when you finally say it's over, I felt that same feeling on the bench. When you're in a playoff series and you're that close, even though you're down 3-0 in triple overtime, you still got the belief that you got a chance to get back in this series. And when that goal did go in, I had that exact same feeling on the bench. You couldn't believe it's over. It was hard to comprehend, and it took a little while to sink in that season is now finished. So I can really relate almost to you sitting on that couch, to me sitting on the bench, because those exact same sentiments were running through my body. It can't be over. It's over, because you always have that little bit of belief that the one goal, you're going to get the goal, and you're going to go to game 5 and you're going to win that. So once it goes in and you've actually lost the series, it's really tough to take.
Yeah. Stu, you got another question?
let's since we're have limited time here, let's
Okay,
focus.
whatever. We can go here for a bit. Yeah.
All right, so let's go back because there's like back and forth on Twitter. Everybody's coming up with line combos. We have an overflow of forwards. So I wanted to get your take. I'll give you my take. Eric will give you his take, and then we'll see, moving the chess pieces around. So obviously I got Barkov, Hagee, and Reinhart on the first line. I got Bennett, Huberdeau, and Duclair on the second line. Now, here's where it comes in. I got Lundell slated for third line. I mean, obviously, everybody's predicting that he's going to be a breakout, rookie. And then I got Tippett on the right wing. And who did I say on the left, Eric? I forgot.
Probably Vetrano, right?
Oh, Vetrano, right.
Vetrano's
And then we got Achari, Marchment, and Hornquist. And then we got the overflow, Datasenko, Lamico, Mammon, Heponiemi. So obviously he's got the pieces. It's just finding the right chemistry. I think 1 and 2, they showed those two lines, I think, are pretty set. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, 1 and 2 are going to be set. Barkov and Verhaeghe, that's set. And then you're going to have Bennett and Huberdeau. And then the wings on that might be adjustable to some degree. You saw Marchman play sometime on the top line. Duclair probably starts there. Reinhart could start on that line. Reinhart could start on the other line. Tippett's an X factor here because he played really well with Huberdeau and Bennett when he had his time there. He's starting to grow into his NHL career and where he can go. He's a guy that maybe takes it to another level, and Duclair's a guy that can spot in up and down your lineup from the first line to the fourth line. So I would expect throughout the course of the season to see Duclair kind of shuffled around a bit. That would be my opinion because of the role that he can play, set in stone. But you'll see line combinations and you'll see adjustments throughout the season. The lines that start the year probably aren't always going to finish the year, but some of the duos, the Verhaeghe Barkov duo set, and the Bennett Huberdeau is set, and then your third line, if Lundell is that person that comes up and is going to be that rookie that is everyone expects him to be, which is something that is still a bit of an unknown. He'll solidify that third line position, and then Joel Quenneville has a lot of flexibility with his lineup, what he wants to do, where he wants to put Hornquist. It looks like Lomberg really has done an awesome job with that fourth line, brings energy. He won himself a job. He's going to be starting on that fourth line. Achari down there. And then you're going to have to, throughout the course of the season, what you saw Quenneville do last year with the taxi squad is that he used everyone.
Yeah, the asset management was fantastic last year.
Yeah, so you talk
By the way, Billy, Tippett is Eric's boy.
Yeah.
But
I want
Tippett
everybody to note that Billy spoke well about Tippett before he knew that. Okay.
Yeah. See, well, we're starting to see the tip of the iceberg for him. It's taken him a while, but he's starting to play both ends of the ring, starting to find the defensive responsibility. And Mammon and Lamico and Heponiemi, what you saw from the taxi squad is Quenneville uses all these guys.
Datasenko.
And Datasenko. Yeah.
It's amazing that we have such talent, and what's even more amazing is Zito picked some of these guys up for nothing, millions, right. 750, whatever, and then now we have them under affordable contracts. It's not like his predecessor going out and having to sign Bob to a $10 million a year contract. It's like this or whatever Yandel. So yeah, I agree. It's going to be shuffling in and out, finding the chemistry.
But that's what you got to do. Everyone looks and says, well, this is what the lines are going to be, and this is this, and who's going to play where. Yeah, with the talent that they have and the flexibility, you got a lot of guys on that team that can play on the third line, the fourth line, the second line in different roles. And you're going to see that throughout the course of the season. And they're not, Reinhardt's coming in. Who does he have chemistry? Is it going to be with Bennett, or is it going to be with Barkov, or that type of role? But you'll see the shuffling. of different line combinations, and Quenneville using everyone throughout the course of the season. And you'll see fourth line guys playing first line like Marchment maybe
Right.
at some time. And that's just the way the course works. And they've got good balance. He'll have good balance, but the lines that start the year, there'll be adjustments to it. And throughout the course of the year, there's injuries.
Right.
That's always going to factor into it at some point. You're not going to go what's going to be now the 82 game schedule, and you're not going to have not guys go down with some sort of injuries. Hopefully they're minor ones and you can recoup from them, but there's going to be injuries, and that's going to slot players in different positions. And that's why Bill Zito adding this depth of quality forwards, that you have guys playing on your third or fourth line that can possibly play on your first line, is an incredible luxury.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of the way that Tampa Bay was built. They've got guys that they could move up and down their lineup and fill different holes. And the depth of this hockey and this organization is at a place that we've never seen it at before, and the talent's at a premium. Yep. So that's all. And the only question, Eric, and you guys, that Stu, that has to be answered is the goaltending. Is Spencer Knight going to be the real deal? And can Bobrovsky find his form? You, with all that talent, you still need the right save at the right time. Amen. And it's been a short sample size for Spencer Knight, but the goaltending position is we can't really expect Spencer Knight to come in here and be the hero, right? He maybe is that, but you can't put those expectations on him as a young kid to come in here and say you're the franchise goaltender at this moment. We still need Bobrovsky, and the complaints, he does work hard. He is a 2-time Vezina Trophy winner. He's had a couple of bad years, but he's here and he's part of it. And he's going to have to find his game, and he's going to have to be able to focus and be able to be the quality goaltender that we need. And that's still a possibility. Everyone says, oh, the bad goaltending, throw him aside. Spencer Knight's the guy. He's going to come in, play all the games. That's not necessarily the case. So Spencer Knight's going to have to develop, and Bobrovsky's going to have to be better. It's as simple as that. And Bobrovsky is capable, but that's of all the questions. The D seem good, the forwards seem good, but that's it. Bobrovsky still has a contract. He's still going to be here. He's still going to play games. So they got to find a way to get him back his form, and Spencer Knight's going to have to grow into his role. And there is a chance that he's going to be a superstar, but let's take it at a moderate speed for Spencer Knight.
Right. Yeah.
And the one thing I was impressed about from like the first game I watched, he's cool. He's a cool cucumber.
Yes, he is. He's got all the tools, and there's no doubting his ability. And there's a chance that he's going to be like what he's supposed to be, that superstar. Everyone, all the fans and the expectations and everything I hear is just it's a small sample size. So we're definitely going to need both the guys. It's not going to be a one-man show on either side. It's not going to be a Bobrovsky show, and it's not going to be a whole Spencer Knight show during the course of the regular season. That'll get sorted out towards the end of the year when you find out who you want to go with in the playoffs. And if you want to win the Stanley Cup, it can't be with 3 goaltenders in a series. You're going to have it with a one mainstay guy that develops into your. That's the guy that's going to win us the Stanley Cup.
Yep. Absolutely agree. So I know this is a question that Stu and I both have, and we talked with Randy a little bit about this one. So can you just talk a little bit about the differences in an entirety, and not just the differences in the game when you were playing, but what we spoke with Randy about especially is like the differences in I've got a YouTube channel, right? And there are a million YouTube channels. So as soon as a player does anything wrong, boom, it's out there and there's all this attention to it and everything. So just talk a little bit about what your experience was like dealing with the media and playing back then versus what you think and what you see some of these kids go through today, because it's rough out there, because especially, doing videos and everything, people, they like to hear their negativity. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I get messages sometimes during the game where people are actually upset that we came back and won because they would prefer to hear my rant So just talk a little bit about the differences between the two generations.
Yeah, we were somewhat lucky. It's hard to be an athlete today with social media and everything that comes with it. You don't have to look any further than Simone Biles in the Olympics to see the pressure that an athlete can be under from social media and expectations. I know I take it to a different sport, but if that's the pressure on today's athlete, is if you go down and you do want to stroll through a social media account, there's so many out there, but to pay attention to it, we didn't have that problem. We didn't have that issue. We were insulated. We knew maybe what fans and media were saying, but players now have, if they want to, can access what everyone's saying about them, and they can really go down a rabbit hole.
Right.
And it could hurt your confidence, and it can, and we're seeing it more with athletes these days, and problems with mental health issues and stuff that happens. And for me, that stuff, it wasn't part of it. So we just focused on our game, and we're able to go home and just go back, and media was part of it. We handled it, and you knew the pressure, what you had to do as an athlete. But now with everything out there, if I was an athlete today in that dressing room, I'd be very careful about what I accessed on social media and how I went about it. Because you have to insulate yourself and block out that outside noise, and just focus on what you have to do as a team, because there's so much outside noise and so much negativity in so many aspects, when there's so much positive to look at.
Right.
You want to take the positives out. So that's a real different in generation, just with the accessibility that there is to the players and the comments and where they can go. So if you're an athlete and you're part of it today, you have to really be, I would say, really mentally stronger these days about what's happening.
Do you think the players go on? I know a lot of them have accounts. We don't see them posting anything, but do you think they go on Twitter and read shit about themselves?
Some do, I would say, and some don't. I don't know. That's a good question. And some might, and some might read the comments. I'm sure they're discouraged to have any interaction with fans. If I was a coach, I would say don't interact with anything that anyone says on social media, because everyone has an opinion today, and just go forward. And I'm sure that's a topic that's addressed in dressing rooms that's would never have been thought about before. But you have to address your hockey team and your players about how you're going to approach social media, and how much access you have to. And if a player is, there probably are conversations with a coach and a player. How much social media are you taking part in? Is this a part of why you're struggling? You have to bring that to the table. They do look at it, and it's with as young as they are coming up, that's what they've grown up with. It's part of their generation, and it's part of something that they do. So they have to, as an athlete, you have to learn how to filter that out and block it out and do your job. So it's become an extra burden, but you are paid the money, correct? So the money you're paid is to go out there and to do your job, and to do your job the best you can. So it's tough to balance it. I would say much tougher than it was in my era, to balance media and playing the game of hockey, but it's something that they have to do, and it's a choice for each athlete of how they do it and how they come out of it. So, but if I had an opinion, I would tell my players just stay away from it as much as possible during the course of the regular season.
Yeah, better be safe than sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
It only takes one wrong word, one wrong sentence. Cancel culture.
All of it's just a tough balance, and it's just the world that's changed. And but most of the younger generation has at least grown up with it. They are part of it. The 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds, even up to the 25. This is something that they've all learned and is part of it. So it's not unnatural for them. If I was to go and be an athlete today, it would be really hard, because that would not be my natural setting of having all this stuff coming at me and being part of it. So they are at least used to it and should have some idea of how they handle and structure it. But it's something that they have to wade through extremely carefully.
Right. Well, this one, we talked with Randy a little bit about cooking, and
Oh, here we go.
and I sort of got in trouble with a few of my fans, so I'm going to have to ask you the question that I did not ask him, and apparently this is what I'm going to have to ask everybody at the end of the interviews, which is pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes or waffles? Pancakes, 100% with peanut butter. Peanut butter. I put peanut butter on top of them, bananas, and syrup, and it's my go-to. I'll have it for breakfast, I'll have it for lunch, and I'll have it for dinner. It doesn't matter. When pancakes are being offered, and I'll have them at least twice a week. So pancakes, if waffles are there, I will eat them, but pancakes are my go-to. And
Outstanding.
I'm a little different too, because I like them thick, and I like them almost a little bit raw on the inside.
Oh,
Just not where they're a little doughy.
right.
So that's my preference. That's how I go with pancakes. So I'm all about the pancakes.
Outstanding. I knew there was a reason I liked you so much. That's just perfect. First he talks about Owen Tippett, and now it's pancakes. Just instantly my favorite guy of all time. Absolutely.
All right.
Stu, you got anything else before we close up?
Well, we'll ask Billy the same question we asked Randy at the end. 3 or 4 key ingredients to win the cup this year. Top 3, maybe 4, but let's just say.
Top is same recipe as last year. You want to get off to that good start. So you want to get off to the good start, put yourself in a good position. The luxury, the chasing from behind we've seen doesn't work very often when you're trying to chase that playoff position. So entrench yourself in a playoff position early.
23 and 2. 23 and 2.
Stu's
there
aggressive.
You go. That's a very hot start. But,
Yeah.
Get into that playoff position, get comfortable, stay as healthy as possible, get that solid goaltending throughout the course of the year. Continue to develop the one guy is Lundell. What does he bring to the table? But if you want to win a Stanley Cup, it has to be in the dressing room. Just what I talked about, it hasn't changed with what I said about our hockey team in '96. There has to be something, not the product that you see on the ice is good, but that is all a bonding in the dressing room. So the bonding has to take place where you are playing for that guy beside you. And the dedication is throughout the room, that you don't want to let your teammate down. That is the number one key for success on any team. And they had that. I heard a lot of stuff coming out of that they had a special group in that dressing room last year. And there was a lot of talk about that. And Hornquist was a big part of that. But so the product you see on the ice is a lot of what goes on behind the scenes as far as being cohesive as a group and being on the same page and being unselfish. If you're on the fourth line and you're playing 10 minutes, you got to give it your 10 minutes and give it your best. If you're on the power play, don't take it for granted. Go out there and show that you deserve to be on the number one power play. If that kind of stuff happens for this team, there's more than enough talent to bring them to the next level and learn from last year in the playoffs. Yeah, the Bennett with a couple of bad penalties, some penalties that were taken, and some goaltending that wasn't at the right time. Look, Tampa Bay got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets. They had that outstanding regular season. They learned. They went back, won the Stanley Cup, and won it a year later.
Right.
So every playoff experience that you get, learn something from it. So take that Tampa Bay series, and when you get into the playoffs next year, what did we learn from that series? And what did we develop during the regular season? Now that we're here again, what minor tweaks can we do different that gets us past the first round, past the second round? So it's just building off the regular season, going into the playoffs and learning just like Tampa Bay did. Sometimes you got to take a few lumps before you get to that mountaintop. But the Panthers are in a position now with an elite group, Bill Zito, a GM, the best coach in the business, and a team that should challenge for a Stanley Cup. And if they do all those things, if they build that dressing room up like it should be, quality goaltending, and learn from the playoffs, those are the three things that I believe will take the Panthers to a Stanley Cup final.
Outstanding. All right, Billy, cannot thank you enough for this. This was outstanding. If you could send some of that weather that you got there here. I live in Maryland now. I was born and raised in Miami, and I live in Maryland. We don't get those puffy, nice little white clouds with we don't get that. It's either bright or gray. There's two colors.
Yeah.
That's all we get.
Yeah, it's nice. I actually spend my summers for the first time down in the Florida Keys, so
Nice.
enjoying it. But Maryland's not bad. It's all good in the summer. It's hot up there, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm on the other side of the bay, so I'm not over by Baltimore. I'm on the eastern shore, basically in the middle of nowhere. So, but I like it that way. I like it that way.
That's good. That's good. Well, I appreciate everything you guys do for the fans. You know what? The fans, to this point, the fans, and you talked about social media, but the fans make hockey possible.
Right.
All those free agent contracts, all the money that you sent, that's because of the fan base.
Yeah.
And that's because of loyal people, and everyone is entitled to opinion. You want to put it out there, you are entitled to your opinion. And we talked about athletes, whether they want to look at, but it's never going to change the fans and the people that do stuff like this, websites, podcasts, and the friends that I met that were fans that became friends. I will remember forever. They'll be my friends forever. But at the core of every franchise and every base is the fans that make it possible, the true fans. So everyone that watches this, I just want to know that the fans are so special and so meaningful. And the players know that when they step on the ice, and they knew it last year, even when we had a small attendance. So your podcast and all the fans, whether it's negative or positive, it's good, because support the team, come out, because they're doing wonderful things, and they put this group together, and they will play your hearts out for you. And if you're there for them, supporting you, this team, as athletes, even though you're disappointed in them at sometimes, I promise you, they're out there. They're elite for a special reason. They got to that level because of their work ethic and character. When they have people backing them up and supporting them, it means the world to them on the ice. And that meant the world to me as a player and a fan when I was doing it at Miami Arena or wherever I went. So know that you guys are at the core of everything that is possible that happens on that ice.
No, I know. I appreciate
Billy, man, you're the best. Hopefully we'll do this again. Maybe later in the season.
All right. Anytime, guys. I'm happy to do it.
All right, great.
All right.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the weather, and we will chat again soon. Everybody,
All right.
the captain of the ship,
guys.
Billy Lindsay.
All right. Have
Catch
a
some
great day.
lobsters, Billy.
All right.